Hello and welcome back to the channel. This one came in from Steve. Again, it came in with the Quasar radio. If you've not seen the video I've done on the Quasar, have a look on the channel a couple of videos back. That's quite a fun little set. Now this one, a USAM CB, and the socket, look at those pins in the socket, something weird going on there. I think Steve has sent this through as spares or repair, or more for spares for another radio, so I don't know if it works. I'm going to have a quick go and see if I can get it working. If it doesn't, it's got a sort of hand finished paint job on the top there, but I'm sure that's fine. So let's just take the lid off and see. I don't want to plug my power lead into that socket because there's some shenanigans gone on with the pins and I don't like it, then it will just damage my lead. So I'm going to connect my power up to the insides and see if we can get it working. Right, we've got power onto the back of the socket and the radio is actually coming on. Just swing you around to the front of the radio, we turn it on. It's coming on. We've got our digits there. We've not got anything coming up on the meter. We've got nothing coming out of the we've got a bulb gone in there. We've got nothing coming on the display. We've got no volume on the speaker, I don't think. No volume there. If we pop it into PA, nothing on the PA. Yeah, so I suspect the audio IC has gone. It's hiding down there. Can you see, just in the little gap there? We'll just double check that. We'll try a bit of transmitted audio through the President Randy. Just 1, 2. Well, I've just checked on there, and when I'm transmitting, the meter's going up, so that's a good sign. Get my shot of my knee in there. So look. That's good, so the meter's working. They often aren't on these. We'll just clean the board with some isopropyl alcohol. Let that dry off and then we'll go in there. Some of the tracks, I mean, it looks like someone's, I've just desoldered it. It looks like someone's been in there before to me and had a little play around. What I'll do is, it needs to come out. I'm pretty sure it's a duffer. I'll take it out and then I'll check to see if we're getting our audio input. I'll get the spec of the chip and we'll check on the board with a signal going in, or just it switched on, listening for white noise, and we'll see if we can hear the input signal using our little amplified speaker, which is very, very useful. Okay, I think it's fairly evident that this has blown. If you look across the top of the chip there, you can see that big bulge, so that's definitely popped, and I think somebody has been in and tried to resolder this. Now this might not even be the correct audio chip, because my suspicions were raised when I saw that the screw had snapped as well in there. So I need to check on the schematic that this is the correct audio chip anyway. But what I will do is I will get the data sheet from the internet for this one, and then I'll see if I can find a schematic for this radio, and we'll see if we can tie it up. I'll first check for the schematic for the radio. I think that's the most sensible thing. Right, I've just managed to find a redrawn version of the schematic online, and that is the correct audio IC, and I've got quite a number of scrap chassis here, and I do happen to have one in a scrap chassis, so it's worth a punt. It's they're quite hard to get hold of now, these ICs. You might be able to find there's an equivalent one you can put in, but I always like to put in, if I can, the original part that was used in the radio. So let's take this one out and pop it in, put a new plastic screw in there, and see if this brings our audio back online. Okay, so we've got a new screw, and that's cleaned up nicely. Got the gunge off of that, off the back of it, and there's also a washer as well, which we need to make sure is on there as well. We'll pop it back on. So let's get it in. Okay, that's all replaced. There we go. You can tell we've got some static, and we got a little bit of hiss on there. I think the squelch button could do with a bit of a play around with, but we'll try and get a tone in it in a minute off of the tiny SA. Right, I've got a print off of the inside of the CB, and there's a redrawn schematic I printed off here. So I'll go through the schematic and we'll mark up what everything does on here off the schematic, and then get it all tuned. Hopefully it'll all be hunky-dory. I probably won't ever see one of these again, but you never know. Right, if you've got one of these, this is what everything does. I am aware that there are markings on the board as well, usefully. but that is what everything does on this board. Just sort of make that nice and clear for you there. So if you do have one of these, you can play around with it. Now I think that can I haven't marked there is, it's not VCO, but I think it might trim the frequency a little bit. I've not played around with it, but I was just looking at the circuit diagram. Right, it was capable of more than 4 watts, nearer to 5 watts. We've set it at 4 watts, and I'm absolutely bang on the money there. Bang on 4 watts, that's on channel 20. I'll put it up to channel 40 just to show how nice and even it is. There it is on channel 40, absolutely the same. Channel 1, absolutely the same. So you can't go, you can't say much better than that really. That's perfect. Okay, so the top one is modulation. I've just set that on the SDR. That's good. The next one is the TX power meter. I just need to bring that up a little bit. I won't show you the meter too much because it's hard to see without the bulb. But we'll just key that up, and we just need to bring that up to the edge of the 4. To be honest, it doesn't really make a great deal of difference. And on this set, it will move when you talk as well. It will reflect the power when you talk. So that is the TX power meter. I think it's on transmit. That's all we've got, isn't it? Really. Right, we're using the Tiny SA as an AM signal generator here, with an external minus 40 dB attenuator on the side of it. And what we've got here is a minus 67 dBm signal, which is 100 microvolts, so a full S9. And this volume control's a bit scratchy, it needs a clean. That's sounding okay, sounding reasonable. And what we'll do is we'll drop this down to something much lower. So let's take this down to a 1 microvolt equivalent. There you go, that's 1 microvolt. And you can hear it's still fairly legible, so that's absolutely reasonable. Now in terms of meaningful testing with the sine adder, we can put it into, you can actually pick up a sine adder reading off of it, of course, but we're looking for maximum audio as it's AM. Okay, we managed to bring that up a little bit, not much, but a little bit. We're now looking at 1 microvolt there. Right, minus 114 dBm we are there, which is 0.4 of a microvolt. We can still hear that. Let's keep going. Minus 116, that's 0.3 of a microvolt. And that's as low as I can go without putting any external attenuation in. So that's good. That's very quiet. And listen to how clean that is. That's very clean. Cobra set though, so it's to be expected. I don't think there's any problem with any of the capacitors in here, although I do suspect it's been overvolted. I think that's why the sound I see has gone. So let's set the RX meter then. We'll set that for 100 microvolts. And there we go, that's the S meter on 9 for 100 microvolts. Now the squelch definitely isn't right on this. Let me just show you. There you go, that's only a tiny bit of a turn on the squelch, and that's been played with. Someone's messed with that. So let's set the squelch properly. And I have given those pots a clean, but I need to give these 2 pots a spray now. I'm going to do that off camera. There we go, we're at 100 microvolts, so the squelch is on full, and then we're just going to drop it down to minus 68, which is 89 microvolts, and it's dropping out. So that's good. So let's see what it's like on the low end. So on the low end, we've got the squelch opening at about 1 microvolt, so it's not perfect. Let's just bring it down. And it's disappearing there at minus 115, which is 0.3. I suppose you could argue it's a wide hysteresis there, between 0.3 and 1 microvolt on the low end, so usable. Got to be the easiest bulb to remove on these. Literally just pulled it out of the side there, although someone has put a little bit of adhesive around the wires to stop it moving, but there really is no need. As long as you get the bulb in there of the right size and at the right angle, it'll be absolutely fine. So this should make swapping that nice and easy. Why don't all manufacturers make it that easy? Love it. Going to show you another top tip of mine. Always keep a bit of blue tack around the place. It's so useful for mounting components in when you're soldering them, or just keeping a screw in place while you're turning the board over, blue tack or plasticine or whatever is the equivalent where you're from. It's really useful for this. As you can see here, I can keep this bulb in the perfect position, safely secured there while I pop the leads onto it. So there you go, a free tip for you. There we go. Always looks better with a bulb in, doesn't it? They're quite a nice bright bulb those. You can dim them down a bit. I use, if you do need to dim it down, I use these 75 ohm resistors there. Pop them in series with them and it takes just some of the glare off. But I think on this set that looks about right to my eye anyway. Wouldn't want to be any brighter. I think that's about right. And the camera's not having a problem with it, which is a good sign, so I'll leave it at that. And the last thing to sort out is that socket on the back where somebody has soldered wires onto it rather than just spend £3 on a new lead. Someone has soldered wires onto the back of it, which isn't ideal, because if you plug a nice new lead connector into that, you're just going to absolutely ruin the connector. So I need to see if I can get that off. If not, we're going to have to probably look at putting another socket on there, which is a shame. So for the sake of just £3, you could end up spending £10 and all the labour having to change that over. So don't do that. If you're watching, get the lead. Right, we can now get a power lead in properly. That was a bit of a job, but there you go. Yeah, so if you're watching, don't ever do that. I mean, even if you can't get a power lead, just bypass it somehow, run the leads in on the top of the case, but don't ruin the socket on the radio. On certain radios, those can be very hard to get hold of. So I think we're all done. We're all good. There is nothing more to do on this now. It's had the full works, and I say it's not come to me with a power lead or a microphone. But that won't stop me doing the test. We'll get it all hooked up, and I'll give Mick a shout to see if he's around to do a little test with this after some lunch. I'll go down and have something to eat, and then we'll come back up and give it a little test. I think I'm going to throw the case back on it because I don't think I need to do anything else to this. There is a screw missing out of the speaker case as well. You can see that there. I don't know if I've got any of those nice shiny screws like that. I'll have to have a little look. If I have, I'll pop one in there. If not, perhaps we'll take them all out and put some other screws in. I must say on this radio as well, I can't remember if I showed it on the video, I did test the speaker with a tone, 16 ohm 3 watt speaker. So if you do ever get one of these, don't be tempted to put a different ohm rating speaker in, because you'll definitely then have to be replacing that sound chip. Amazingly, on my box of junk I managed to find a screw that matched absolutely perfectly, so put a new screw and a washer on there. And I say this case, it's like a hammered paint finish, but it's fairly durable, I think. And like I say, with the board all being nice and clean as well on the back there, it'll make any future requirements for prodding around and messing around a bit easier for the next person that looks at this. Hopefully that won't be for a long time, because it's had a bit of TLC. Another thing I noticed when I was popping the case screws in is that somebody at some point has decided that the person that designed this plug arrangement didn't know well, and that they didn't need to have a slot in the middle of each of these pins, so they decided to solder them up. Again, very stupid to do that. The whole idea of these pins is that they are slotted in the middle so that they can spring in and out when you plug the socket into the microphone socket. Okay, so do not under any circumstances solder these like that. You're going to make these just badly fit. It's not the way to do it. If you suspect you have a problem with this socket and it's down to poor connection, very carefully, using a screwdriver like this, pop it in the socket and just splay the terminals out carefully. Just splay them out a little bit, each one. A little bit of switch cleaner maybe if they're grimy, and a cotton bud. That's all you need. Do not solder into those sockets like that. Again, all you're going to do is just put wear onto your microphone connections and cause more problems. So again, I'm only mentioning this to you as an advisory. Of course you can do what you want with your own radio, but please, if you can, don't do that. There she is, back in the land of the living. I just want to show you the noise limiter function working well. Lots of static around today, as you can hear there, and then the difference the noise limiter makes. There, look. Look at that. Right, Mick's about. He's just setting himself up for record. Let's give these radios a test. There will be lots of noise around, as there always is, but we're kind of used to that.
I'm going to say recording now in a second.
There he goes. He's going to record now in a second.
I'm recording now. It's all yours, Paul.
Okay, Roger D. Hi there, Mick. So we've got the today's radio on the bench.
It's a Cobra 19GL. This is an American radio, a vintage radio. I'm not sure if it actually is vintage or that. I'm not actually checked. I think it's probably 30 years old, something like that. But nonetheless, it's a good radio. It's given to me by Steve. I think he's initially looking at it as a donor radio.
To repair some of his other radios, but I was intrigued and did a bit of probing around, as you've seen on the video, and we've got it all working, and it's working rather nicely. These are a lovely radio, these, and really nice receive on this as well. Really sensitive, and you're coming through well considering all the usual noise we get. I wonder how I sound to you there, Rog. Go ahead.
Okay, Paul, all received. It's coming through quite loud, a little bit on the bassy side, and you're pulling some other rubbish through with it as well. But yeah, it is readable, but not quite as clear as what we normally are on FM, if you know what I mean. But yeah, it would be readable, and it seems to be working fine. Okay, Rod. Yeah, you're coming through all right. What I'll quickly do while we'll stop recording onto the absolute over, I'll just have a flick around, see if I can find a slightly clearer channel, Rod, and we'll give that a try.
Are you recording there, Mick?
Yeah, it's still recording this end, Paul. I didn't turn it off actually, so you did come through on the other radio as well. That's in there, but you'll be able to edit that out, won't you?
Yeah, Rog. Okay, well, we're back on the on channel 1 now. Channel 1. We've moved down the band a little bit, and there's slightly less noise around here.
And there's slightly less noise around here on channel 1. This is always a main barrel live when we ever do the mixture and test on the radio, but we kind of learned to deal with it. And it is a good, at least it's a fairly constant test anyway in between the sets that we test on the channel here. So yeah, overall then, you think it might be a little bit hot on the audio. I did check the modulation, it was well in, so it's probably running at about 1995, but this might, you know, I have cleaned the microphone socket,
Who knows? Because it's someone had soldered the pins on the microphone socket, Mick.
I don't know, some of the things you do find when you're servicing, I should say, with servicing these radios, I bet you could write a book on it, Paul. So what different people have tried, or seem to have tried anyway, but no, it seems to be working fine now. Your audio is good, and that's especially good for AM as well, because it's a little bit bassy, but I can live with that, so it's all yours, Paul.
Yeah, Roger D, we've got the automatic noise limiter on as well. It doesn't seem to make a great deal of difference when the over's in place. It's just in between overs. It gets rid of a lot of that horrible crackling you get. But it does seem to work really well. So it was before, when I was using it and there's some distant signals, it was letting me hear them. So I know a lot of people frown with the automatic noise limiters, don't they? But yeah, it does seem to work all right on this radio. Okay, yeah, I'll just wind the video up now then. So thanks if you have been watching me resurrect this Cobra 19 GTL. It's really nice when you get a radio and people think it's going to be a scrap set when it's not. I mean, it was good that we found that audio chip in that old set. I have actually ordered a new audio chip as well, which I'll keep in stock. The repeater in the background is just fired up there. Perhaps what we'll do is, for the viewers, Mick, is we'll show them the difference between us when we're using 2 meters and the CB, because we've got our 2 meter radio set up here. So we'll just show you the audio difference between the two. So we'll do that in a second. So any chance you could just set your camera up there, Mick, so we could do that? Okay, so we're on the F10100D on FM, Right, we actually could try fusion here. Okay, Mick, now just thought we'd give everyone to let them see the difference between us when we're using 2 metre antennas. Now, to be fair, my collinear is on the roof, and it's just above the roof level, and my CB antenna is in the loft, okay? And that does make a huge difference. And you're going from an antenna which is on your shack roof, which is only about 6 foot off the ground, to a roof-mounted antenna. But this is the difference, Rog.
Yeah, I'll agree with you there, but you're still coming through
end stop signal, so you will be when you're off that antenna and where you are. And I don't know what sort of strength I'm coming through to you. You're not far away, but it's very good audio, lovely audio coming out of this radio.
Yeah, likewise. Did you want to? Should we try the fusion mode? I think it's the DX button. I haven't used this for a little while. Is it or the GM button? I'll have to have a little play around. Do you want to try digital?
Yeah, can do. I think it's the DX button actually. You press that and you change through the modes.
Alright, let's give that a try. Right, I'm on the DN mode. That's it. That's the digital mode, isn't it, Rog?
Yeah, that's correct. I'm on the DN mode as well. And it's got the bar above the DN, which means it's in digital. But if somebody comes back on analog mode, ordinary FM mode, I think it automatically changes as well, Paul.
Yeah, Roger D.
Yeah, Roger D. I've never been a massive fan of the digital mode. It always sounds a bit sort of pinched and nasally, doesn't it? But it does cut through well on low signal conditions, doesn't it? But I think we probably sounded better on FM. Yeah, G0 LDB returning. Yeah, I'm back on normal FM now, and it's yeah, it seems to be okay with me anyway. Let's see what you sound like.
Yeah, you sound better on that on just normal analog. FM there. Digital is okay. It's got its uses, hasn't it? But I have to say, I think just normal analog FM sounds really good. We're using low power here, both me and Mick, about 5 watts, and Mick is probably about 150 foot below me, down a hill about 1.5 miles away, and there's sort of lots and lots of houses in between us. So that's the conditions here. And I think is your antenna a rooftop there, Mick? I think it is, isn't it, Rog?
Yeah, it's on a pole about 25, 28 foot off the ground, so but it has got a problem with it, and I keep meaning to have it down and looking at it, because I can see it wobbling in the base. Which they do, because it's been up there 25 years and it's lasted well. Back to you, Paul. G0 LDB.
Okay, Rog. Well, I think we'll probably wrap the video up now, and thank the viewers for watching and staying with us right to the end of the video. Like I say, it's been great to get this old radio sorted. We'll get this radio boxed up and sent back to Steve, who sends lots of radios through for repair. So if you have been, thank you ever so much for watching, and thank you for your help, Mick. And both me and Mick will catch you on the next one. Take care.